Welcome to LZ's Food and Fitness class. Today we are making a cherry pie. Pie is the universal food for everyone. Great dessert. Okay, to begin with, this is my own personal pie recipe that I use. You take 1 cup of flour, be sure to level it off. Flour is the main ingredient in a pastry. You then add 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of flour in your pie. Put it in a bowl. A small bowl is all you need. Level off. Okay, after we have the flour, we need salt. Salt is necessary for flavor. You need a teaspoon of salt. Don't over measure. Be sure you don't measure over your bowl or you'll get too much. Level it off. Put it in. And stir up the mixture. The oil. It's just a good oil. So you mix this up well, stir it up. You're going to put a hole, make a hole in the center of your flour. You are now going to measure a third cup of oil. Oil is our shortening, which will make your pastry light and flaky. You want a flaky pie crust. So you add that. Then we are going to add, a minute, we're coming. 3 tablespoons of water. This could be cold water. So you have 1. Water is the ingredient that's going to hold this together. Okay? You stir this with a fork. You have a well in the middle. You stir this with a fork and make the mixture and stir it till it comes away from the side of the bowl and forms a ball. Okay? You can see there we have a ball. The dough is nicely made. This is called the oil method of pastry. When I worked as a cook at a short order restaurant, we actually made pie every day, and so this is a fast, easy way. Pie by many is considered a difficult baking task. A lot of people don't like to make pie. They might buy the pastry at the grocery store in the refrigerator section, or you can buy it in the frozen food section. So now we have wet our table, put it down a layer of wax paper, our pastry on top of that with another piece of wax paper. One of the difficult issues about making a pie is rolling it out. You want to be sure you get it thin. You don't want a thick crust. You want a thin, flaky pie crust. So you can see with the wax paper, it's pretty easy to roll this out fast and easy. Pie doesn't have to be a time-consuming task if you know how to do it. So we have it pretty thin. We peel off our top layer of paper, and we now invert this onto our pie plate. I have a pretty big pie plate here. Then we're going to peel the wax paper off of our pastry. And this should work pretty well. Now this leftover dough you might want to save if you grew up in the Depression and with Grandma and watch Grandma bake pie. She might take this leftover pastry and put cinnamon sugar on it. So we're going to make a 2-crust cherry pie today. We fit this pie pastry into the pie shell. Don't have any, fit it to the pie shell. If you have a little places where it's not big enough, you can paste and cut and pat that in. Paste and cut. And move it around for, it's not always where you want it. It's pretty good about forming. So be sure it forms the pie plate well, okay? So we now have our pastry in our pan. I've made up cherry pie filling. My grandson likes cherry pie. So these are fresh pie cherries from the farm on the tree we grew, and I thickened them up this morning with sugar, about a cup of sugar, and cornstarch, okay? So, and we'll now put that in the pan, but now we are going to make a 2-crust pie today. So we repeat the process for our pastry. We take another cup of flour. And so this will be a 2-crust pie. So you can see pie is pretty easy to make. You could also, if you want, Village Inn advertises all kinds of holiday pies. You can go get yours there if you don't want to make it. But pie's pretty expensive if you buy it at the store. It might be like $10 to $12. Really, the ingredients are pretty cheap. You only have in it flour, 4 ingredients. Flour, salt. Now we're going to add a teaspoon of salt for the flavor. We'll measure this over a wastebasket. Salt is needed for the flavor. You stir this up. Mix it well. As you remember, put a hole in the center. You're going to add a 1/3 cup of oil. You could use Crisco, shortening, lard. This is probably the healthiest type of oil to use. This is 100% vegetable oil. Okay, put that in the center. Remember, we now add 3 tablespoons of water. And we measure this. We now take our fork, mix this together until it comes away from the sides of the pan bowl. And so you can see this mixture works pretty well and fast. And now we're ready to roll out, and you can see that forms a ball. You can use your, don't over handle the dough or it becomes tough. So you don't want to do excess handling. We will now roll out our top crust. This would be a 2-crust pie like what you would make for a fruit pie, any like that. For some pies you want an uncooked shell, like for pecan pie. Or if you're making a chocolate cream pie, you would bake the shell, a 1-crust shell, and bake it. Okay, we're going to roll this out again. Start at the middle and roll to the sides. Make sure you get it thin enough. You don't want a thick, chewy crust. The thinner, the better. And I just find this wax paper works really slick in getting a thin crust and getting it rolled out effectively. I do like to make pie. I could be a pie baker in my second career. Okay.
After retirement, Jose.
We take that off. We now are going to make some slits in the top, because with a fruit pie you want some slits to make the steam and air come out. You could write anything you want, or you could have a smiley face. I'm just making, I don't know, something I learned. Yeah, like wheat. You can do anything. You put your initials. You flip this over. Okay. You're now going to peel off the top. This peels off pretty easily. Okay. Now, the next trick is you have to crimp the top and the bottom crust together so that they don't shrink. So you just take between your finger and your forefinger, you flute the top of the edges, okay? Or you could use a fork and go like this too if you wanted. But I like, this takes a little practice to learn, but once you've mastered it, you'll remember it forever. So you just crimp the sides and the edges. And now, what you do...
Throw some over your shoulder.
We'll throw over our shoulder for some good luck. We trim off the sides of the pie crust. Somebody want to get, is there milk sitting in the refrigerator? Okay, there's our pie. Now, we put this on a baking sheet, because in case it overflows in our oven, we don't want a mess. And to get a nice glaze on the top of our pie, you could brush this, but I'm just an old-fashioned cook, so I just use my hands. Just brush this a little with some milk. Put milk over the top.
Should you wash your hands before this demo?
Okay, you wash that. Then Last step, sprinkle sugar over here. If you remember, sugar helps things brown. And so we're ready to put this in the oven about. But the last step, we need some aluminum foil around the edges. This is going to bake in the oven at 425 for about 15 minutes. And then we will turn this down to 375. We will keep this aluminum foil around the top edge right now, as that will prevent the crust from, or the edges from overburning and getting too brown. The filling's really baked, so there's nothing that, we just bake it till the desired brownness. So here's our pie ready to go in the oven, and in about an hour we will have freshly baked cherry pie. That is the end of the pie demonstration.